Parking on the street I live in is a problem. In fact, I started a residents group on Facebook and parking's the main topic of conversation. It's a Victorian terrace, and when it was built in 1882 no one had cars. One of the biggest complaints is that people park inconsiderately. Now, sometimes they undoubtedly do, but one of the biggest complaints is that people don't park and leave enough space for other cars. I think I figured out a theory as to why that might not happen. So to demonstrate, I'm going to start with this car. So this car, just we'll call that the end of traffic. The end of a long row of cars. So here's my theory. Street's empty. Big car turns up and parks. Now that car needs enough space to be able to get out. And because it's quite high up, the driver's viewpoint, when he gets to about there, he can no longer see the car in front. If I just use something as a straight line, see? So to him, that looks like a reasonable amount of space. And it probably is, because, as I say, he needs to be able to get out without damaging other cars. So then another car turns up. Hey, it's a mini metro, we haven't seen them for a while. And again, viewpoint, eye line, he sees the back of this Land Rover. That's a reasonable place to park, that's a reasonable space, people can open the back of the door. Again, he still needs to be able to drive away. Well, that's fair enough. That's kind of fine. I think the problem occurs if this person comes back from wherever, leaves first, drives off, goes on their merry way, leaves this space. Then, a small car comes along, something like a smart car, and parks there. Again, eye line, enough space, needs to be able to reverse out. The problem this presents is that when another car comes up and sees this space and thinks, wow, that's some inconsiderate parking, look, who's left that space? I can't possibly park in there. But no one's actually kind of done it out of spite, no one's done it deliberately. And I think that's part of the challenge. I mean, again, if this car, the small car, leaves, bye-bye, and then another car comes in and parks, and again they need to have enough space to get out, and they need to leave space for the car in front. That then leaves this tiny little space. So when a big car comes along, oh my goodness, who's inconsiderately left that space? We can't possibly park in there. In fact, even the teeny tiny cars probably can't park in there. So if this car now leaves, bye-bye, and then this car parks here, this car then leaves, obviously there's space there for a small car, but if someone comes along in a long car, or a bigger car, and they're then thinking, wow, how inconsiderate is that parking? Look, there's not enough space to get in there. And I think that's the problem. So just to recap, large car parks, other cars then fill up the street behind it, quite normally. Large car leaves, other cars come and fill the space, park either there or there, and that means that there is no longer space for another car. It's not that anyone has parked inconsiderately, it's just that there's such a massive disparity between the different size of cars that you're never going to get really neat parking, parking like this, and then this car leaves, and then a car that happens to be exactly the same size or that's just not reality. You're always going to have large cars that can't fit in spaces, small cars then leave these funny little spaces in the middle. I think that's the problem. Although, of course, sometimes people are just inconsiderate parkers. Just my theory, anyway.